So I'm currently not home, but I thought I would make this short video because I recently watched the movie Obsession. I liked it. I thought it was great, um, and I had some thoughts on it because I know that there's been a lot of conversation regarding what it's about and all the ideas within it and the symbolism. So I thought I might add my 2 cents because I think I see a pretty, let's say, clear symbolic pattern in it. Um, by the way, I am using my laptop microphone, so if it's like weird, I do apologize. Hopefully, you can hear me just fine. So I'll start off maybe with a brief summary of the plot. You have this character called Bear. He's this young man, and he has a great, let's say, like crush on his friend Nikki, right? But he can't bring himself to like ask her out, right? He's too scared. So what he ends up doing is he makes a wish. He doesn't think it'll come true. It's like he buys this like really silly wish. You break it. It's like a wish stick. You break the stick and you make a wish. And in a moment of passion, he makes a wish, and the wish is that this girl Nikki loves him more than anyone in the world, and it comes true. And after that, like the horror ensues, and he realizes that it was in fact the wish that made her change her mind all of a sudden, and and it wasn't her voluntary choice, and that he maybe bit off more than he could chew. Let's put it euphemistically. So I think there are two major patterns going on in this movie. One is obviously love, and the other one I think is the relationship of love to things like the will, right? Or things like it's the ownership. I don't know if there's a word that really encompasses it well, but I'll tell you what I'm talking about, because there's these two ideas in it, right? First of all, let's talk about the second one, ownership. Why do I talk about this? Well, the movie starts off with an interesting image, and it starts off with Bear coming into his house, and he sees that his cat is dead and tragically passed away. And in the movie, he's very greatly grieved about this death. And I've seen a lot of discourse online, and people are like, what is, I know a friend of mine asked me, like, what's the point of the cat? Like, why is that there? Because the symbolism of the cat shows up multiple times throughout the film. And me looking at it, I think I understand what's going on. And you can say that it's linked to love, because what love is, what a part of love is that the other person, your partner, becomes an extension of your will, right? And you become an extension of their will. And in the Christian sense, you understand that as the two becoming one. But as a similar relationship with your pet, right? But there's a small difference in that your pet is an extension of yourself, right? Like when you get a pet, it eats when you eat, it drinks when you want it to drink, it follows the rules of your house. It becomes like a mini version of you, right? It is like a small, particular, encompassed version of your will. You project your will onto it. So it's very similar to a partner, but it's a difference. And there's an obvious difference, and it's that when you get a pet, this is part of the difference. This is one of the differences. There's many differences, but this is one of them. Is that when you get a pet, you don't ask for its permission to make it your pet, right? When you get a dog or a cat, you don't say to it, "Hey, do you wanna be my pet?" And then it says, "Oh yeah, sure." And then no, you sort of buy it from the store, you bring it from the shelter, and you go, "Okay, you're in my house now. You're going to do my will." And you can say that the love that your pet has for you is it's the level to which it's sort of obedient to that sort of enforced will that you're putting on it, right? It's like, if a dog isn't obedient and it keeps biting you and it's not listening to you, then who doesn't really mean that it's not too happy with your arrangement, right? But a dog that is loyal, we consider loyalty in dogs to be like a projection of their love, and is sort of like the love it has for you. But you don't ask for its permission. And the way that you love your pet is that you, in a minor way, you become an extension of your pet. I know people that, they go home early from functions because they want to look after their pet, right? Like, you, in a sense, become your pet, and the levels unto which you do that is an expression of your love for your pet. So Bear finds his cat dead, and he's really upset. Why? Because the cat is a stand-in for a partner, right? In his mind, he's like, I don't have anybody. This is what he's thinking. Like, I don't have anybody to be that projection, to be that projection of my will. I don't have anybody that I can be the projection of their will. But at least I have my cat. At least I have this companion that, I love, and that, I sort of have this mini version of love. There's like a mini version of love contained within this relationship. But the cat dies, and now he doesn't have anything. So he's in great distress. And he wants to start a partnership with his friend Nikki, but she doesn't want it. She doesn't want it, right? And that's an important aspect of, let's say, love between people, is that it's, it has to be consensual, because we have free will, at least in the Christian context, right? Like, you have free will, and the level onto which your sacrifice is actually consensual, the level onto which you actually voluntarily give your sacrifice that you voluntarily take somebody's will and put it on yourself, is an actually important aspect to it. Hopefully you understood that. But Nikki doesn't want it. So Bear, in a moment of passion, says, okay, well, if you don't want to be a projection of my will, I'm just going to make you be a projection of my will. I'm going to force my will on you. And that's what the wish was. The wish was, I wish that my will became Nikki's will, even though she doesn't want it. I wish that she loves me, regardless of what she wants. So Nikki becomes the pet. Nikki becomes his new pet, right? She's no longer a person. She's a pet for him. And there's an idea going around, I've heard, that like when this cat died, the soul of the dead cat possessed Nikki. And of course, people are making fun of this, but I understand what they're saying. In that, yeah, it's partly true that, Nikki does become the cat. Not in the direct sense that the soul of the cat possesses her, but like, yeah, that image is there where Bear cannot, let's say, cope. He's not strong enough to handle this rejection. So he forcefully pushes his will onto Nikki in the same way that he would do a pet. But in the end of the movie, we see another thing. We see another image. At the end of the film, Bear dies, and the last shot of the film is him on the floor, and he's like sprawled out, and he's dead in the exact same way that the cat was. And this is purposefully done, right? He's on the floor, foam coming out of his mouth, the same image that we had with the cat when it died. So what's happening there? Why is Bear the pet? Like, what's going on here, right? Well, you have to understand it in this way, in that it has to do with possession. So there's an idea that, I think the director said this, like, the idea that Nikki was not possessed throughout the film, this is not actually true. I respect the director, Kari Barker. He obviously had a great vision. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he wanted. But it's a bit ludicrous, right? Of course she was possessed. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is the most natural, most innate way of understanding what was happening, is that, this person, Nikki, was possessed by something. What was she possessed by, right? And the immediate answer you go to, well, she was possessed by, the wish. She was possessed by Barrow's own will, right? But it's a bit deeper than that. In that, no, actually, not all your ideas are your own ideas, right? And we see that in the start of the film. It's in the title of the movie, Obsession. Like, what is an obsession, right? It isn't, in the same way that when somebody's addicted, we see that they are battling addiction. We have this very innate language, instinctual language, to talk about addiction, and that as if the addiction is like an external force that they are fighting. Why do we say that? Because there's an aspect unto these, addictions and these obsessions. Obsession is a type of addiction that it isn't innate to the person. It's an externality, right? They, in a sense, like it isn't natural to them. So you can understand the film as, in a sense, Bear was possessed from the very beginning of the film. Bear was possessed by obsession, in the same way that a person who's addicted to tobacco, we would say that they are controlled by their addiction. The addiction is like an invisible spiritual force that controls them and makes them, and it's actually to the degree unto which you are able to fight off that external force. And Bear, of course, was not. He was weak to it. He didn't know what this obsession convinced him. In Christianity, we would call it a demon, or a principality. The principality of obsession convinces Bear that obsession is his own will. It's like, yeah, this is what you want, right? You want this girl to like you. You want this girl to be a part of you, and just wish it, because it's your wish. Yeah, it's not mine, it's yours. This is what you want, right? This is how demons work in Christianity, right? In the same way that when you're addicted to smoking, it's like you're battling the addiction. The addiction is going like, yeah, like you really want the cigarette, don't you? Like, yeah, just light, have another pack, have another cigarette. It's fine. Like, this is what you want. We have innate ways of understanding these patterns, and Bear gives in to that external force. It's not to say that he's blameless. I'm not trying to say that Bear had no, like, it wasn't his idea, it wasn't his... Of course it was, it was due to his own sort of patheticness... I don't know, I should know the word. Don't worry, you know what I mean. It was due to his own weakness, let's say, that he gave in to that external will, to the will of the demon. So, he wishes that Nikki loves him. He's under the impression that his own will has now become Nikki's will. But it isn't his will. It is the will of the demon. So, in a sense, it's a demonic possession. There it is. That's what a demonic possession is. When somebody's really obsessed over somebody to a point of, driving them mad, that's demonic possession. When somebody's addicted to alcohol, tobacco, drugs to a point where it takes them over, that's demonic possession. That's what it is. That's like the best way of understanding it. And so, so this demon of obsession possesses Nikki. And at the end of the movie, what happens is that Nikki, possessed, breaks another wish stick and wishes that Bear loved him more than anyone else in the world. She doesn't say this, but this is what's heavily implied, that the demon possessing Nikki's body makes the exact same wish. And then Bear gets taken over by what? By the will of the demon. It's a story of addiction, right? It's like, if you give in too much to these desires that you think are your own, and then it will take you over, and then it will make you its own pet. So Bear becomes, in the end of the movie, when he's on the floor, like the cat was, he's the pet. He's now become the pet of his own obsession. The will of the demon has taken him over, in the same way that, you project your will onto your cat. Bear projects what he thinks is his will onto Nikki, and then the demon projects its will onto Bear. And it forces Bear onto its will. Maybe, hopefully you guys understood what I'm trying to say here, which is that, it's an augmented view on love, in which, your partner isn't your pet, right? And this is a demonic idea. Your partner, the love that you have with your partner it goes both ways, and it's voluntary. It's a voluntary surrender to each other's will. Yeah. Anyway, if you agreed with my analysis, or you're confused, or you think it's ludicrous, then feel free to tell me. But that's pretty much it. See ya.